What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. We got Rez back on the channel. Loving having him on.
Thank you for having me.
You know, substitution for Simeon. It's always good to have a change.
Everyone needs a rest from time to
100%,
time. Everyone.
100%. We've got a few bits and pieces to get through today. Let's start off with Paulo Dybala rumours yet again. ESPN are claiming that Tottenham are one of the clubs to make contact with. Paulo Dybala's representatives, the forward, has been identified as a possible target, with Antonio Conte keen to overhaul his squad. But it is season ticket renewal day today, so there always is that to think about.
Yes. It's going to be 50-50 as to whether these rumours magically disappear tomorrow. Look, if Conte wants him, I think he'd be useful. He's versatile. There are question marks a little bit over sort of injuries and attitude, but I think we need upgrades. Yeah. We need a stronger bench, we need a stronger squad, and the likes of Dybala would not be a bad addition, I would say.
When you're looking at number 10 to bring in, would you look at more of the likes of Dybala or go in the route of maybe more of an Eriksen?
I would probably plump for Dybala, mainly because I see him as being a bit more versatile than Eriksen. This is not to disparage Eriksen. We all know he was certainly a quality player. He has shown a lot of the quality that he has demonstrated before playing for Brentford. But it was like when Bale was being mentioned. It was like, I can sort of understand, because Bale can play anywhere across that front three. So when you've got a front three, you essentially want 5 players. To cover and rotate and, you know, have options. So Dybala fits better than Eriksen because he's probably a little more versatile than Eriksen, and is in my view anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could potentially... I would look at bringing in both, because I think that Dybala's more kind of fluid upper echelons of the pitch, where Eriksen, he's shown he can be a bit more fluid, maybe dropping deep as maybe that deep lying playmaker.
Yeah, potentially, you know what I mean? Absolutely, yeah. That's the thing. The key is versatility, absolutely. So if you've got a player who's more flexible, if you like, horizontally, and one player who's more flexible vertically, that gives you good options. Exactly. So yeah,
and both of them frees as well.
And both of them frees, yeah.
That's definitely singing Daniel Levy's tune.
Yes, isn't it just?
Let's move on. Let's talk about Cameron Carter-Vickers. Once again, 90 Min claim that West Ham, Southampton, Fulham, Palace, Wolves and Everton are all monitoring Tottenham defender Cameron Carter-Vickers. Obviously, he's had a very successful loan move at Celtic this year. It has
won a trophy.
Yeah, it has been. So did Carlos Vinicius this year, by the way. It also, I think that it's important to note that he does have an option in his clause with Celtic that it could be 6 million with potential add-ons up to about 10 million, which is mad to think about it, because he's just been rotting away in the reserves and on loan moves for years now, Cameron Carter-Vickers. But I think it's time for him to move on. And I think that with what he's shown out in Scotland this year, he's probably getting the plaudits he deserves.
I think so. The problem he always had at Spurs is that he'd be brought in for like a pre-season friendly, and it wouldn't really catch fire for him. And I think that was because he looked ahead of him and saw, well, I've got this player, this player, this player, this player, this player ahead of me. That might raise questions about whether or not he wants to apply himself to try and grab a place. But if that is the case, having gone to Celtic and having been a mainstay in their squad, perhaps he's felt that that's more comfortable for him, or a better platform for him to show the abilities that he does have. I don't see a future for him at Spurs. You know, is he better than Dyer, who we're looking to upgrade potentially? Better than Davis, who we're looking to upgrade potentially? I don't see it. So yeah, good luck to him. Glad he's had a good season at Celtic. We'll be happy to see him do well at whatever club he ends up with. Thank you and good luck.
Yeah, and it was interesting hearing Chris Sutton speak about him. Obviously, Chris Sutton, massive Celtic fan. And he was talking about the nominees for Player of the Year out in the SPL, and Cameron Carter-Vickers wasn't mentioned. And he says, how the hell is Cameron Carter-Vickers not mentioned when he's been the best player in the league, hands down? Yeah. It was crazy.
Amazing. I mean, again, he seems to have found a platform in which he can shine a little bit.
If I was him, I would stay there.
Yeah, why not? You know, Glasgow's a great city to play in. There's no requirement for him to move. from what we can gather, Celtic fans love him. The Celtic management love him. You know, he's got love and attention and all those good things that footballers want. So by all means, you know, Cameron, just stay, enjoy Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we're going to talk about Mario Hermoso, Atletico Madrid defender. Mundo Deportivo say that Mario Hermoso is a target for Tottenham this summer, with the club in the market for a new centre-back. To tell you the truth, I haven't seen too much of him, so I don't know much about him, but he does get quite a few minutes for Atletico Madrid, and in that Diego Simeone side, we know how it's always defence first. So you got to be a pretty good defender if you're in that team, don't you?
You have to be a supremely good defender for Simeone to show that much faith in you. The other thing that you can say about Hermoso is that when he's gone to a new club, he very quickly establishes himself. He's done it at Atletico. I've forgotten where he was before. Espanyol, was it? He was at before. Had a few matches in the first season, and then in the second season was a mainstay of that central defence. He's versatile. He can also play at left back.
Espanyol, yeah.
So he's a left side. I'm guessing he's a left-sided central defender. These are all good things. These are all boxes that we need to tick when we look at upgrades to our central defence. He's 26, so he'll be coming into his prime. Yeah, that to me is worth a punt. More than that, I think it's something that you should be actively looking to do, a deal that you'd be actively looking to do with Hermoso, in the absence of other players like your Bastoni or, you know, other sort of your Defy and people like that. Yeah, good option to have.
So for you, this is a kind of like a secondary option if our first options don't really come to fruition.
I would say so. Yeah, I think that would be fair. There are better candidates in terms of they've got a better profile. He's sort of a little bit of like a sleeper target, one that you look at alongside your primary target, one that is like a 1.5 target rather than a 1 and a 2. So if, say, for instance, your Bastoni, whoever it happens to be that Conte might want first, doesn't work out, I'm sure that Conte's got him on his list as the next one along.
Yeah, completely agree. There's actually was some interesting quotes from Conte on Bastoni. I'm going to try and find them.
Yeah, I think he said something like 90% of what he is today he owes to Conte is what he was saying, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Inter defender Bastoni on Conte, and he says, I owe him the 90% of what I am today. He gave me so much technically, but also in terms of mentality. Not every coach plays a 20-year-old guy in a team like Inter. I owe him so much. Does he owe him enough to come to Tottenham, though?
We're talking about modern footballers here. You know, what they feel they owe can disappear in the wind quite quickly. It's certainly a positive thing to hear about a player, about your manager. If Bastoni wants to play in the Premier League, he would not be doing himself any disservice by choosing Spurs and playing for Conte. He will understand his manager. The manager will have had a relationship with him, and whatever else we might be right now, we're still historically and also financially in the top 6. You know, are any of the other clubs looking for new defenders? Will they want Bastoni? There's a Premier League opportunity there for him potentially.
With a manager that he loves.
With a manager that he loves, absolutely. So why not?
I agree. I think he would be my number one target if I was on the hierarchy at Spurs. But let's move on. Let's talk about Steven Bergvine. This is an interesting one.
What's he done?
From the Evening Standard. What he's done is scored 2 goals against Leicester. That's what he's done. So what Evening Standard is saying, he says, there is a view from some at Spurs that Bergvine, being the match winner versus Leicester, may not have been entirely in the club's best interests. His goals effectively ensured it would be a PR disaster to sell him to Ajax in the final weeks of January. What do you make out of that?
Suck it up and do it. I mean, if he's not got a future with us, if Conte doesn't want to use him in any role primarily, and he doesn't want to be on the bench, sorry to be a bit rude, but bollocks to the PR, sell him. You know, get someone who you know that you're going to utilise from the bench. You're going to rotate with your sort of first string, and is happy to play that role. If he's not happy, you can understand that. It's fair enough. He's got a career to think about. You know, if he doesn't want to be on the bench, that's perfectly within his rights to express. But we have got to get beyond the idea of anything other than footballing considerations being the primary determinant of what our squad looks like, be that financial, be that public relations, be that morale, whatever. It should be these players are here because we want them to play, and that's what we're paying them for. Anything else out of the window, or is at best a secondary consideration.
I don't get what Bergvine needs to do to start getting more minutes, because for me, he's shown a lot more than Lucas Moura has since Conte has come in. Yeah. Every time Bergvine has stepped on that pitch, he looks dangerous. You can't say that for Lucas Moura.
No.
I mean, what does he need to do to get some more minutes on the pitch?
My guess has got to guess is that there's something else behind the scenes that makes him unsuitable. Maybe it might be a case of he might be a player who only turns it on when he's in a match environment, and in training he just doesn't impress. So, maybe the manager is thinking, well, how can I risk it? He's not showing it me in training. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just offering it as a possibility. Who knows? Whatever it is, it boils down to this. Is he going to be a primary within our squad? If not, is he happy to be a bench player? If the answer to both of those is no, he has to go, for his sake and for our sake. If he's happy to stay on the bench and be utilised occasionally, and he's happy for that to happen, no problem. I've got no problems keeping him, because I agree. He can be effective. He makes an impact when he steps on the pitch. Perhaps it's a case of he just doesn't make that impact if he starts. It's like a little bit like Solskjaer. Solskjaer is known for when he starts games. Obviously, not a bad player. I'm not saying he was terrible when he started, but he was the ultimate super sub. Maybe Bergvine is in that mould. Who knows?
It'll be a shame, because I really rate Bergvine. I really do. I would love to see him stay at the club, but at the end of the day, he's fighting for places with Sonny and Harry Kane.
Yes.
So at the end, what are you going to do?
Yep.
Next up, Sergio Reguilon, as Conte has confirmed in the press conference that Reguilon is not available. It's a groin pain and he's not available. I'm not sure how long it will take him to recover, which says to me that he's probably going to be out for the remainder of the season. How much is this going to hurt us?
A lot. Not because it's Reguilon per se, but it's because the weakest area of our squad has just become even weaker. Well, I mean, you could argue the central midfield is fairly weak. Well, he's weakened because of the lack of skip, and because we've only got two. Now it's basically the left wing back situation has become the same. Who'd you pick? You've got one left wing back, one right wing back. If you're not going to use the youth or risk the youth, then it's a big blow, because you have absolutely zero options, and no football manager likes having no options.
Yeah. Well, another injury to the list that's getting quite long now. 4 players out injured, all for the rest of the season. Yeah. Let's talk about these Antonio Conte to PSG rumours. Conte has been speaking about them in the press conference, and it's exactly the way you want Conte to react to them. Yeah. And I'll read you some of the quotes. And he says, "It's good that other clubs appreciate my work. The truth is, I don't like when people try to invent news, only to speak, only to create problems. That is not right. This is not fair for the clubs involved and for my players. Don't listen to fake news, and people for sure want to create problems for the environment." Sammy Mokbel has been speaking. He says there is a feeling behind the scenes at Tottenham that Conte will not walk away from the job. Looking at other managers remains a matter of a contingency preparation.
Yeah, because we do that so well, don't we? The last time I remember it being known that we were looking into contingency managers, we sacked the manager at half time. Listen, we've sort of been asking, or the fans have been asking, for Conte to come out and squash these rumours. I didn't feel it was really necessary for him to do that. It was just this whole Pochettino return, the prodigal son returning to Spurs, sort of fits a particular mould within the Spurs fan base. It's not a case of me saying it shouldn't happen. It's not a case of me saying it should happen. It's just we seem to be hung up a little bit, and I can certainly understand it.
We're a very nostalgic fan base, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And he gave us so much joy. When that happens, there's going to naturally be that yearning for that joy to return. Right now, I don't see Conte leaving. Conte will only leave a position when he feels that he is not being given the tools he needs to do the job for which he's been hired. He has been hired to transition Spurs from where they were to where they need to be. However long that takes, if Conte is given the tools to do it, he will not walk away. That doesn't fit his character. He's not one to jump ship halfway through. The thing with Inter, for instance, the reason he left Inter was because they weren't going to back him.
And they were getting rid of his stars.
He probably felt that his job wasn't complete, and so it would almost be going back to the drawing board, and he feels, well, why should I go back to the beginning? You know, I've gone this far, you're not allowing me to continue, I'll go somewhere else. This is what I think. This is why I think this summer is so key. You back him, he'll stay. That's my view.
Absolutely. And let's say, for argument's sake, because it is a possibility that he doesn't get backed and he does walk.
Yep.
Let's say that is the case. Would Pochettino be your man?
No.
Who would? No, why not?
Because I don't feel that the environment would be right for him. He's done that transformation at Spurs once before. I honestly believe that when he said we will be back one day, speaking about him and his coaching staff, for me the feeling was we will be back one day to finish what we started, not to start what we started again.
Not to restart.
Yeah. And I don't think that his heart would be in the job. And I think all of the problems that we had before, the majority of the problems that we have at the club right now started or came to the forefront when he was there, and they've not been dealt with. It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be logical for him to come in and take over from where he left off. You know, why sack him in the first place if that's the case? You know?
If we do rehire him, basically the last 3 years have been a complete waste of time, and we'll be moving backwards.
Yeah, and that will be a hangover for his entire tenure unless everything changes immediately that he comes in. It's not that I don't want it. It's not that I think he's bad. I just don't think it would work.
I personally think that it can work. I think it can work if Levy gives him what he needs, the tools he needs to rebuild the squad. But that remains to be seen. So,
and it raises the question of, well, why didn't you give Conte the tools he needed?
But if he can't do it, Conte can't do it. Who can do it?
Exactly. That's it.
Matt Law has spoken about that, what you said. Looks like maybe some people within Spurs might have a similar feeling to you. As he says, a move to rehire Pochettino would not necessarily be welcomed by everybody at Tottenham, with some holding reservations over whether or not a return would be a good idea. And then he goes on to say, Roberto Mancini and Graham Potter are two of the alternatives to Pochettino who Tottenham will consider if Conte does decide he does want to leave. Those two names, do they fill you with any sort of excitement?
Mancini, no. Potter, yes. I am a big fan of Graham Potter because he works radically differently. One of our big problems is mentality, and he has qualifications that he can, actual, qualifications. He's got a master's degree in leadership and emotional intelligence, for God's sake. Those are things that would be very helpful to our current Spurs squad. I would be dreadfully disappointed, though, if Conte left, and I don't believe that Potter would be able to get out of this squad anything more than Conte has the potential to get. So I don't see it as any kind of upgrade.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. That is definitely true. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below any thoughts you have, any of the news stories we've brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.